and thank you so much for joining us again on another episode of Community Connect. It is always such a pleasure to connect on issues of critical importance to our community. Joining me today are Jean McRae and Judge Hanson. Jean is the Chief Executive Officer of the Intercultural Association of Greater Victoria. She is the Sector Co-Chair for Pathways to Prosperity, President of the Affiliation of Multicultural Societies and Service Agencies of BC. She represents AMSA on the National Settlement Council and the Canadian Immigrant Settlement Sector Alliance. Jean has been working in the immigrant and refugee services sector since 1982, inclusive of 3 years working with refugees in Central America. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Judge Hanson is very well known for his achievements in the community, economic, and organizational development. As President and CEO of the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance, Judge oversees production of the annual State of the Island Economic Summit, the annual State of the Island Economic Report, the Island Good brand, and the new Foreign Trade Zone designation for Vancouver Island. Mr. Hanson has consulted for corporations, community organizations, and governments. He served as president of the Business Improvement Areas of British Columbia, and he is chair of the Nanaimo Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Ruth.
Yeah. So between you, we have decades of experience in the newcomer settlement and economic development sectors. Mm-hmm. And it will be such a pleasure to dig into some of the things that you've done in those times, and we would be very glad to hear about your experiences. So going to Jean first, talking about newcomer settlement, what would you say is that one story that weaves through a number of the people you've come across through the years in terms of their expectations coming to Canada and the reality of settling into new communities?
Sure. As you know, people come to Canada for different reasons. Some come as refugees, some come as economic immigrants, and they bring with them a multitude of skills and abilities. The biggest challenge that probably resonates with almost everybody who comes to Canada is being able to bridge that gap between what they bring and what they can offer, and being able to actually do that in the community through employment, through volunteer work, through other activities in the community. And a lot of that just has to do with sort of learning the ropes and how things work. And so a lot of the work that we do as an organization is help people as they come in sort of understand the milieu in which they go, mm-hmm. that they're coming into. And of course, providing them with, if they need to improve their English, we've got that available to them. If they need to work on their job finding skills, we do that. But ultimately, the most important piece is that sort of learning to navigate a new cultural environment. And that can be very, very challenging for people.
Totally. And so how do you support them in connecting newcomers with the receiving community?
We at the Intercultural Association, we run locally the Community Partnership Network, which is up to about 300 member organizations. So these are organizations that have said, we're interested in learning how to be welcoming and inclusive of newcomers in the community. And we provide them with training, information, data, so that they sort of understand what they're looking at. Increasingly, we're seeing employers who want to go through those channels, employers who approach through our employment programs because they're looking for workers. And so we've got a good situation right now, and people are quite receptive to welcoming people into the workplace. So we do a lot of that connecting. We're involved in some national projects. One you mentioned, the Pathways to Prosperity, which is a national research project that really delves into these pieces. What are the key components that make a community welcoming? What are the things that we can actually do, learn, understand that would help our community be one that really embraces the newcomers that arrive here?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Speaking about prosperity, Judge, what would you say your work as president of the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance, how would you say that you connect your role in that with the needs in the community?
Yes, well, as you mentioned earlier, we produce an annual economic report for Vancouver Island. And one of the things that stood out in our 2018 report, for instance, is that there is a picture that our economy is beginning to moderate and not grow quite as swiftly as it has been. And the major reason for that is because of a lack of skilled labor on Vancouver Island. We've recognized for a number of years now, for instance, that BC and Vancouver Island we do an extremely good job of attracting international students to our colleges and universities. We do a much less good job of retaining that talent coming out of the schools. So one of the things we've been working with is how to bridge that gap and shorten the distance between the students that are wishing to stay in Canada and have careers here, who are being educated here, and getting connected to the career opportunities that are on Vancouver Island.
And in my own recent interactions with some employers, and Jean did speak to the need that employers have for talent, I'm finding that there is currently a shift from the traditional ways of getting talent to the non-traditional ones, including recruiting talent from abroad. And how would you say that is shaping up?
Well, I think you're absolutely right in that, and the way it's shaping up is the fact that we have been talking for more than a decade about the aging of our workforce. One of the things we also noted in our report last year is that for the first time in memory, the labor participation rate on Vancouver Island has increased 3 years in a row. People are actually moving to Vancouver Island seeking job opportunities, which is very different than our economy. And so what we're doing is trying to encourage and work with employers to get out there and hire co-op students, hire interns that are in the MBA programs, and we know that many students in colleges and universities on the island would like to stay and start their careers here. And yet many of the students think that there aren't opportunities, and many of the employers think that there's no skilled labor. And we want to close that gap. And we know that there is a demand, because for the first time in our memory, for the last 3 years, the labor participation rate on Vancouver Island has increased. That tells us that older people are staying in the workforce longer, and young people are coming here from elsewhere seeking opportunities. There is a critical need, and we actually have the resources here.
Right. Right. So on one hand, we have the need that employers have for talent. And on the other hand, we have the need of newcomers for support when they get into the workforce. It's one thing to get in there. It's one thing to have a diverse workforce. It's another thing for it to be inclusive. So what would you say the role of the different stakeholders are in supporting newcomers?
Yeah, well, certainly an organization like ours can work with both newcomers and employers to help sort of open up the conversation about what's going to work. And so we do a lot of work in that area. I think for employers, they need to recognize that sometimes if they have a worker who's coming from a different cultural background, this is not about their skills, this is about their cultural background, there's going to be things that they just don't know, because if you grow up here, you know certain things. They're just part of the fabric of how you talk to each other, how you write a memo, how you do many of the things you do every day in the workforce. So I think for employers, they need to expect that there might have to be a little more explicit about what they do and why they do it that way. And those are all skills that can be learned. And for the newcomers themselves, it's also, you know, trying to learn those things and understand that it's not going to be the same as it might be where they've been working or you know, in a different kind of workplace.
Totally. Thank you very much, Jean, and thank you so much, George. And there we have it. It's a two-way traffic connecting employers and newcomers. We'll be back after this quick break. Our gratitude to George Hanson and Jean McRae for those excellent perspectives. We'll be back.
Our differences are minute in comparison to our similarities, and that we need to just work better together. I think the overarching takeaway is that inclusion, integration is not a big deal. It's It's a mindset that that people need to accept and move on, and find ways to collaborate and work together in ways that are productive and equitable for everybody. I think what institutions need to do is start with identifying what works and then do that. What institutions tend to do is start with where they are and figure out how to get to where they want to be. Just go to what works and figure out the rest.
I'm always inspired to see how many people care about this issue, and increasingly how many people care about it in the community. It's wonderful to see such a broad array of people out on a Saturday morning to talk about a topic that's close to my heart, but and increasingly is close to the community. Yeah, I think organizations just need to take a really good look at themselves and recognize that in this community and in this world, if they're not being inclusive, if they're not being part of things, then they're not going to be successful.
Welcome back. And joining us on this segment of the show is Asiyah Robinson. Asiyah is a newcomer from the Bahamas, and she moved to Victoria in 2014 as a student at the University of Victoria. Always great to connect with you, Asiyah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we heard just before, now we heard from Judge Hanson and Jean McRae talking about newcomer experiences and what it's like supporting them through their journeys. What would you say your experience has been as a newcomer woman, a Muslim woman to Victoria?
Definitely, yeah. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. In terms of my experience here, I think it's going to be a little different from maybe the average newcomer in the sense that I'm a student. So there's a lot of services that are in place at the University of Victoria to help us kind of navigate and manage our communities and our environment here. I came here, I missed all of my orientation, so I didn't know anybody, I didn't know where I was going to class, what was outside of University of Victoria campus. And I found that I kind of started gaining a lot of supports and services when I started going to international student services. And I met Anne Cirillo, and through that, I think I probably gained the most support from like the global community and being a part of that environment. In terms of identifying as a Muslim and as a woman, I think that I didn't get as much support from the Islamic community simply because I just didn't think to look for them. I don't have a Muslim community back home, and so it wasn't something that I was sussing out. It wasn't something I was looking for or even trying to think that I would get support from that community. And definitely it's been something that has helped me immensely grow as a person in the last few years now that I have become a part of it. But I think in terms of kind of navigating that and finding community outside of Victoria, or outside of UVic, sorry, it's definitely been a challenge. It's definitely been a problem. I don't know anybody here, and so I had to go and search for those connections myself and search those people myself. And still sometimes I find that there are gaps and there are things that I didn't get to do, and it frustrates me because I've been here for so long and there are people I haven't met or communities I haven't been a part of. But I definitely think that I'm kind of well on my way to finding kind of a sense of belonging here for sure.
Right, right. And yeah, just putting you side by side, other newcomers who are possibly not international students or who are here for all sorts of reasons, whether as refugees or economic migrants, what would you say is the common thread in your experience as an international student and as a youth with their experiences?
Definitely. I think that this speaks more to my later years when I started kind of getting more involved. And I think we're just looking for a sense of belonging and a sense of some place where we are needed and wanted. And I think those are two very different things that we need to separate. Wanted in the sense that, you know, you want me to be a part of a community. You want me to find a place here. You want to invite me to your house. You want me to be a part of your family and your home. But needed in the sense that you think I'm needed to be a part of this community. You think my skill set is needed to help you build or grow. You think that my mind is something to be cherished and something to talk to and someone to talk to. And I think that separately, both the need and the want are something that all of us are looking for when we come here. We want to feel as though we're not just here in passing. We don't want to think that we're here and we're going to leave and no one's going to remember us, or we would not have made an impact, or someone is not going to think, you know, they didn't really do anything while they're here. Right. And I think that's something that I've definitely found when talking to a lot of, you know, migrants or anyone like that. They're looking for a place they belong, but they're also looking for a place to kind of create as their own.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that brings to mind one of the critical things that I've been thinking about recently around lived experience and how much grounded expertise there is in that. So there is the expertise that people who work in these communities who don't necessarily share stories like you and I or other newcomers would possibly have. And there's the expertise that we bring as people who have walked in those shoes. What would you say are some of the challenges of being a newcomer, making a home in a place far away from what you've always known to be home? What would you say some of those challenges are?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is self-doubt, and in the sense of, you know, you doubt your skill set, you doubt what you doubt, you know, where you belong when you come here, and then sometimes you're encountered by people who don't want you here either, and so that helps to kind of just feed into that doubt of, you know, your skills, your intelligence, your capabilities. I think that's definitely been a very, very big one for me. And in terms of just being here, trying to figure out where you fit in. I think that when people come here, they're not just coming here at a certain age and so they are grown now. There's a personal journey that comes along with moving from a place as well. And so there's a lot of growth that happens to happen within you. And part of that for me has been kind of focusing on my identities and who I am as a person. And so because of that, I wasn't even sure where I was supposed to fit in. I wasn't sure which community I was supposed to be looking for, which one means more to me, which one should I be reaching out to, which one am I ashamed of, which one am I still growing and still trying to find. And I think that that led to a lot of conflict within myself and me not reaching out because I didn't want to be shunned by communities that didn't think I was supposed to be there, but I also didn't want to approach someone in a sense and it not be a bright fit for me. I was afraid to be in the wrong shoes. I was afraid that my experience didn't really mean anything and that I just didn't know where I belonged. And I think that was just the biggest thing for me, just trying to figure out, okay, where do I start? Because it is such a large community and it's so much larger than what I'm used to. And so trying to figure out, okay, where do I even start my journey to find a place? Kind of just very, very, very challenging for me in that sense. Yeah.
Right. And in talking about the future, and now that you're starting to find a home, you're finding your own foot around here, your feet around here, how are you making home? What is the future looking like? In terms of getting involved and getting settled?
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of like, what have I done to kind of build my future here, or?
Okay, I'm gonna ask that question again.
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead now.
Yeah. So yeah, in terms of how involved you've gotten with the community, what would you say the future holds for you?
I'm not sure, in all honesty, but I'm not frightened about it. And I think that's the thing to point out for me is that when I came here, I had a goal in mind, I had a dream in mind, I had, you know, idea of what I would work and what I would be doing. And I think that I had to grow a sense of confidence in the fact that I may not be confident about what that is. And that for me is a good thing because there are so many directions that I'm being pulled. There are so many things that I'm now passionate about, but not just that, there are a lot of skills that lead to a lot of different groups and demographics that I have learned because of the experiences that I've had. And so that just makes me kind of pulled in different directions, but I'm not terrified about that prospect because I believe that wherever I end up and whatever I end up doing, I'm going to be creating that change and I'm going to be having that growth. And so for me, my future is just definitely something that I'm improving every day. So I meet new people every day, new opportunities, new growth, new projects. And there are definitely a lot of things that I have in mind, but as for a sure, straight kind of path, I definitely don't have one, but I'm excited about that. Not because I like being lost, but I don't consider this lost. I consider this growth, and I consider this just an opportunity for me to get where I need to be, and I just don't know where that is, but I think it just speaks to maybe it's something I have to create. Maybe it's just something that's not there right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
And in talking about what kind of support you would need to help you or people like yourself get to that place that you have in mind. So whether it's from the government, from the business community, what would you say that support looks like?
I think some of the support that I'm looking to, I always look to the communities that I've built here. So my youth, my Muslim community, you know, just the females around me. I look to them and I think the youth that I see are already empowered and already kind of creating that change, I just kind of talk to them and we have that growth within ourselves. But I'm always looking for more youth to pull up with me and more people to be around me in that circle to do these projects and to build this community. And I personally think the help support that I need is support for them. I want them to feel empowered. I need them to know that they are capable. And so to me, I think that comes from the mentors and the people that they have around them. So the professors that they have around them, not just talking to, you know, this is one great thing to do, but speaking to all the different opportunities. There are things that I'm currently a part of that no one ever told me about, no one ever considered would be important. You know, even my own family didn't think was a important thing to be a part of or something that would give me any kinds of skills or opportunity or responsibility. But I have grown so much in certain things and certain skills and that I would literally have never thought and never would have gained through the kind of obvious, you know, go to class way. And so I think the support that I need is just highlighting the importance of that and making sure that youth hear that. I think also just more opportunities in the sense of, I want to be in that organization. I want to see what that's like, and I just need a space to kind of be there.
Okay, that is awesome. That is such an awesome perspective that you bring, Asiyah. And it is a pleasure, as always, to connect with you.
You too, Ruth.
Thank you for staying with us and Community Connect. We'll see you next time, right on the show.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoy watching Community Connect as much as we enjoy bringing it to you. Join us next time as we bring you even more exciting and informative episodes of the show. Let's keep the conversation going. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Email us at communityconnectbc@gmail.com. Until next time.